Jesus' words in the New Testament says, slaves, obey your slave master as you would obey me. Love your slave master as you would love me. They do think Jesus really said something like that. This guy is supposed to be this love and light, and all of a sudden that's in there. Come on. We're talking about text that has been remixed by flesh and blood human beings to do what? To dominate, control, subjectify people, to enslave people. People believe that Christianity was spread by love and the good news, and no. It was spread by bloodshed. When they came to your town, they literally would take your women and your children. They would, they would take the leader of that village or whatever. They would show that you guys are going to bow down to us. You're going to follow this religion. You're going to speak our language, and they'll make an example out of somebody, and then everybody else would follow suit. And if they didn't, then they would say, okay, we're going to give you a lot of these torture devices. They would have the Pope's spear, which is still in the museums right now, which they would stick that into a woman's personal parts, and it would explode on the inside of her. They would have this triangular pyramid with a spire on top, and they would reel a man up and down and let it go up into his back door over and over again until he died. And they had all these torture mechanisms. They tortured and killed over 80 million people over the course of 700 years under the order of the popes, in order to spread love and peace and Christianity all around the planet. And so, but this is, again, all with the authority of Rome. Even the depiction of Jesus switched over to the face that became the global popular face. That was actually Caesar Borgia, who was actually one of the sons of an actual pope and killed his own brother to try to take his place. This guy was just an evil, brutal, killing ruler. His father commissioned the artist to paint his image as the image of Jesus, and that image still propagates the planet till this very day. And so the image that a lot of people are praying to is not the Jesus that they think it is, but actually a natural-born killer.
You said that they had doctored the Bible. What's the earliest version of the Bible that exists?
One of the earliest versions is the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible.
Okay, so the earliest version of the Bible, or one of the earliest, is in Ethiopia. What are the differences between that Bible and, let's say, like the King James?
Okay, there are a couple things. The first, the Old Testament is the Torah from the Ethiopian Torah.
Wait, the oldest Torah we have is also Ethiopian?
Yeah.
Okay, so oldest version of Old Testament, Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Oldest version of New Testament, either Sinai or Ethiopia. What are the differences we see in these and then the newer versions of the text?
Well, what's interesting is the text, there's less mistranslations.
Less mistranslations, got it.
In the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible, there's about 12 to 14,000 differences than the more modernized King James Version.
And what are the differences?
Well, for example, Moses never crossed the Red Sea. He crossed the Sea of Reeds, which is a closer, much smaller and easier sea to cross.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you talk to geologists, which like I did,
yeah,
you'll find if you do a geological rewind to go back in time with tectonic plate movements, a computer model will simulate that there was an actual tsunami in that area somewhere within that time frame, give or take 100 years or so, which would have easily wiped out that area, completely dried out the Sea of Reeds, and you can walk right across. Then the water would have come crashing back. But he never crossed the Red Sea. Also, another mistranslation is the God. God is not supposed to be singular in the Bible. It's plural in all cases, gods with an S.
So, but you see that in certain languages, like God in Spanish is Dios, not Dio. So that would be gods. There's a plurality to it.
You know why?
But that is Father, Son, Holy Ghost, maybe?
No, they just copied it from the ancient texts and tablets. In the ancient texts and tablets, it's multiple gods. In the Bible, you have the gods are Enlil, and who's also known as Yahweh in the Bible. And you also have Amen-Ra, the great Amen. He's, when you say the Lord's Prayer, that's Enki's prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, give us our daily bread, blah, blah, blah. That's Ptah's prayer, who's also known as Enki. Enki.
In which religion?
In Christianity.
Enki is in Christianity.
No, he's ancient Sumerian. And he's an Anunnaki.
Obviously, with translation, you're going to find differences when people are explaining the meaning of certain things.
I'll give you one big translation that's off, is they say, well, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas, but they left that out of the Bible on purpose, by accident.
So how did they kill him?
They didn't kill him. In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School. And they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene?
Yeah. They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but we'll assume that it is, which means he probably had kids, and his Merovingian bloodline is still probably walking the land till this very day.
That's in, what was that great book, the Dan Brown book, the Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yes. So there's probably someone related to Jesus right now.
Another one, actually, the word for virgin was mistranslated from Aramaic into Greek. So the word originally meant, I think it was laga, which means young woman. By the time it got to Greek, it was translated wrongly into virgin, which then made it into the biggest part of the story of Jesus, which is that his mother was
so she might not have been a virgin.
It's possible, but when I saw what convinced me, that's why I looked deeper. That's how I found out about the grandmother. I said it might be true. But they still use that mistranslated word for that. Maybe they didn't have another word to use. But that's a big mistake, because there's certain parts of the Bible where they use that same word to describe women as being virgins, and they tell men that you have the right to rape them.
Jesus.
That's in the book of Deuteronomy.
Who wrote that one?
God said this in the book of Deuteronomy. He says...
Is this Old Testament Deuteronomy?
That's Old Testament, yeah.
Wow.
Towards the end of the Old Testament, he says, if you see a woman walking through a field and you want her, you can rape her. Exact words used, by the way. And it says, if after you rape her, you decide you want to keep her, you can make her your wife.
Wow.
Yeah, so, that's God.
So Deuteronomy is really a wild book.
Listen, Deuteronomy is so bad, and this is where you go, wait a minute, this is really not the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
God says, there's a person in a town far away.
Yeah.
Who speaks ill of me. Go there and get over the town walls, kill the women, kill the children, kill infants, and bring the spoils of war back to me.
Whoa!
Now, what kind of God needs spoils of war?
You're God. You got everything.
Yeah. Just look up Evil Bible. Google Evil Bible and go to the book of Deuteronomy.
You said that they had doctored the Bible. Mm-hmm. What's the earliest version of the Bible that exists?
One of the earliest versions is the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible.
Okay, so Ethiopian Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's fire. There's this great clip. I don't know if you've seen. It's on one of these fucking Ivy League campuses.
Yeah.
And there's these white kids talking about how it is a form of white colonization teaching Christianity, and there's an African student there who's like, Christianity was in Africa before it was in Europe. And then the white girls are just like, they have no clue what to say. So this does, I imagine, speak to that, right?
Yeah.
So who was it that went to the Ethiopia? Which tribe ended up going there? Because I think there's a Jewish...
Oh, you're talking about
Isaac? Was it that he went down there? One of the 12...
one of the 12 tribes. Moses went down there.
No, I think
Moses went down there and met his wife, and she was a woman of Cush. So the Cushite people ended up in Ethiopia.
Oh, okay. I thought there was one of his. I thought it was one of the 12 went there, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it's possible.
Matthew?
It's possible.
So it's called Mermena, supposedly in Ethiopia, describing as a land that was inhabited by tribes of cannibals. After departing from Jerusalem, and the Holy Apostle Matthew preached the glad tidings of the gospel. And that's why you see a Jewish faction there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the earliest version of the Bible, or one of the earliest, is in Ethiopia. What are the differences between that Bible and, let's say, the King James?
Okay, there are a couple things. The first, the Old Testament is the Torah from the Ethiopian Torah.
Wait, the oldest Torah we have is also Ethiopian?
Yeah.
Oldest version of Old Testament, Ethiopia. Oldest version of New Testament, either Sinai or Ethiopia. Right. What are the differences we see in these and then the newer versions of the text?
Well, what's interesting is the text, there's less mistranslations.
Less mistranslations, got it.
In the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible, there's about 12 to 14,000 differences than the more modernized King James Version.
And what are the differences?
Well, for example, Moses never crossed the Red Sea. He crossed the Sea of Reeds, which is a closer, much smaller and easier sea to cross.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you talk to geologists, which like I did,
you'll
find if you do a geological rewind to go back in time with tectonic plate movements, A computer model will simulate that there was an actual tsunami in that area somewhere within that time frame, give or take 100 years or so, which would have easily wiped out that area, completely dried out the Sea of Reeds, and you can walk right across. Then the water would have come crashing back.
Wow.
But he never crossed the Red Sea. Also, another mistranslation is God. God is not supposed to be singular in the Bible. It's plural in all cases, gods with an S.
So, but you see that in certain languages, like God in Spanish is Dios, not Dio. So that would be gods.
Yeah.
There is a plurality to it.
You know why?
But that is Father, Son, Holy Ghost, maybe?
No, they just copied it from the ancient texts and tablets.
Biting.
In the ancient texts and tablets, it's multiple gods. In the Bible, you have the gods are Enlil, and who's also known as Yahweh in the Bible.
Yeah.
And you also have Amen-Ra, the great Amen. He's, when you say the Lord's Prayer, that's Enki's prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread, blah, blah, blah. That's Ptah's prayer, who's also known as Enki. Yeah, Enki.
In which religion?
In Christianity.
Enki is in Christianity.
No, he's ancient Sumerian.
That's Sumerian. And
he's an Anunnaki, so you're praying to him.
Okay, I like don't want to go away. I want to learn about the Sumerians because I think that's really important to everything else you talk about. But I just want to learn some more about these differences in the Bible. Because this is always really fun. When obviously with translation, you're going to find differences when people are explaining the meaning of certain things.
I'll give you one big translation that's off is they say, well, Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas. He didn't.
It's a fire name, Barnabas.
I know. Didn't. But they left that out of the Bible on purpose, by accident.
So how did they kill him?
They didn't kill him. In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School. And they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
So she was not actually...
They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but we're assume that it is, which means he probably had kids, and his Merovingian bloodline is still probably walking the land till this very day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's in, what was that great book, the Dan Brown book, The Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yes. So there's probably someone related to Jesus right now.
Right. So it's interesting that's a mistranslation. Another one, actually, interestingly enough,
this is fun.
The word for virgin was mistranslated from Aramaic into Greek. So the word originally meant, I think it was laga, which means young woman. By the time it got to Greek, it was translated wrongly into virgin, which then made it into the biggest part of the story of Jesus, which is that his mother was
So she might not have been a virgin.
It's possible. But when I saw what convinced me, that's why I looked deeper. That's how I found out about the grandmother. I said it might be true. But they still use that mistranslated word for that. Maybe they didn't have another word to use. But that's a big mistake, because there's certain parts of the Bible where they use that same word to describe women as being virgins, and they tell men that you have the right to rape them.
Jesus.
That's in the book of Deuteronomy.
Who wrote that one?
God said this in the book of Deuteronomy. He says...
Is this Old Testament Deuteronomy?
That's Old Testament, yeah.
Wow.
Towards the end of the Old Testament, he says... If you see a woman walking through a field and you want her, you can rape her. Exact words used, by the way. And it says, if after you rape her, you decide you want to keep her, you can make her your wife.
Wow.
So that's God. See, here we go.
Yeah.
The creator of the universe, of the multiverse, that can think planets into existence, that can speak things into reality.
Wow.
Oh, this is great.
So Deuteronomy is a wild book.
Listen, Deuteronomy is so bad, and this is where, you go, wait a minute, this is really not the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
God says, there's a person in a town far away who speaks ill of me. Go there and get over the town walls, kill the women, kill the children, kill infants, and bring the spoils of war back to me.
Now,
what kind of God needs spoils of war?
You're God. You got everything.
Yeah. Just look up Evil Bible. Google Evil Bible and go to the book of Deuteronomy.
So who do you think wrote this?
These are these Anunnaki people. See, they were these Atlantean leaders.
Yes.
It got to the point where they became greedy and they became self-made gods. And they really believed it. They were battling each other
like
over
the pharaohs
resources.
of Egypt in a way.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're drunk
battling
off
over
power.
resources and people. Wow. Battling and, just literally like fighting over who's controlling who. And how we all got to be different races.
Yeah.
That goes back to...
How did that happen?
Yeah, that goes back to the Tower of Babel incident. The Anunnaki, they are these beings that came from off-world.
So these are aliens.
These are aliens. Now, what's interesting about these aliens is that they're not little green men with antenna. Yeah. They're actually hominids, bilateral bipedal hominids. They look just like us.
Okay.
You slice them in half. They have two forward-facing-looking eyes, two hands, legs. They put their pants on one leg at a time like us.
But do they look more like us or more like us?
They look like we look like them.
Okay.
We actually look like them.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we have their genetics and their DNA inside of our bodies. Now, what's interesting is these beings were a spacefaring race that broke away from the Pleiadian star system. The Pleiadian star system is a group of stars called the Seven Sisters in the night sky. You can see 6 stars with the naked eye. Now, these stars in ancient times, according to ancient texts and tablets, there was an ancient galactic war there.
Okay.
Most of the information from Star Wars comes from this text. And this war, they had these destroyers like Death Stars. They don't call them that, but they call them the Brahma Astra and Brahma Astra Honda weapons that actually can release a weapon that can destroy planets.
Okay.
Imagine if you were in a star system and a planet is being blown up and you're in a nearby planet.
You
got to
get
get off of your planet.
Yeah.
This created something called space refugees. Nobody's talking about this.
Where are you getting this information again? Where is
the
this?
Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas.
So these are ancient Indian texts.
That's right.
5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Enuma Elish,
I just want
which
to
is
let you know.
Sumerian.
And I want to get to this, but for this entire episode, we're not fact checking.
Okay.
Okay. We're not debating. We're not pushing it. Take us down the rabbit hole. We want to see how deep it goes.
The people can listen to what I'm saying and they can go look all of it up.
Fuck them. Take us down the rabbit hole.
I'm taking
Billy.
you, man.
Okay, let's go.
So we're talking about...
Yes, and.
We're talking about the evidence, the very first evidence of space refugees.
So you're seeing this in these ancient Indian texts.
Yeah.
Okay. You come across this and you're like, okay, let me see if there's some truth to this because I'm seeing this across multiple ancient Indian texts.
Right.
Any other text referencing this?
The Terra Papers, an ancient indigenous American text as well.
Okay.
Very little known text that hardly anyone talks about. The Hopi tribe elders have written this book based on that text and published it, actually. It's called the Terra Paper, so that it wasn't just in indigenous lore, but it made it finally to publishing. So it's actual text that we can all read and get access to. It reads like the Star Wars movie. Just take out the love stories and all that. And what's interesting is it talks about, again, these same galactic wars going on. People fleeing from that region of space, looking for other planets, Orion, Aldebaran, Sirius A, B, and C, which we know the Dogon talk about people coming from Sirius B, which is a star that ran out of fuel, and of course Earth. And they came here to create a breakaway civilization. Just like if there was a war, and there was in our solar system, that's what we call Mars, the god of war, we're going to be like, we got to get off this planet because the debris is going to destroy us.
So we're the product of pussy aliens, basically. Like aliens who weren't ready to bang and fight for their future and their freedom. They just ran. We're defectors.
They were the elites that had the access to the ships that can take them from one star to another.
So are they like the politicians that didn't go to Vietnam?
Right. Exactly.
Got it. So we're the product of rich, privileged kids.
They're the guys with the $10,000 suits that just sent everyone out to die.
They would be protesting at Columbia, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, good. Got it. Okay,
that's who these people are. And so some of them came to Earth. And so Anunnaki is a general term. It doesn't mean one race. It's just like if all of us here got in a spaceship and flew to Mars and we met a Martian and he said, "Who are you guys?" We'd say Earthlings.
Got it. But they maybe would call us Anunnaki.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm Billy Carson from Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Right. So they would they're Earthlings. That's one term, but we're all different races here.
Right.
Right. So, Anunnaki is a term to say those who came from heaven to earth. That's it. In Africa, they call it the Nituru, which means the same exact thing. The gods that came from heaven to earth and turned mud into a kingdom. Now, the civilization they built is the Atlantean civilization.
So this is where we hear about Atlantis, the
Yes.
mythology of Atlantis.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
They built the Atlantis.
And where's the evidence for this? Where do you read about that?
Well, if you look in the text, a lot of the Indian texts, the
Got it.
Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient lore of the indigenous aboriginals, the Terra Papers, the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Atrahasis, the Code of Hammurabi, the Myth of Etana. There's so many tablets. I can just keep going down.
Everybody's referencing the Atlantean civilization.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most popular one was it Plato's uncle or something like that?
Plato. Plato wrote about them.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did. Yes,
Okay. Got it.
And so, you start looking at this information. That was more recent. I mean, when I say recent, it's not as ancient. But the account of Plato's account of Atlantis is not that ancient. But we're talking about the ring city, but that was just one capital. So that ring city that was being described is one capital of dozens that existed on Earth at the same time.
Do we know where these other ones might be? Is there any remnants?
They were on every continent, every single continent. We're standing on Atlantis right now. We're sitting right on top of Atlantis.
It was New York.
Yes, everyone on this planet is on top of Atlantis. So when you start to look at the Americas, you discover that there were so many pyramids in the Americas. There were literally thousands of them. What happened to them? The Catholic Church blew up the tops of these pyramids and built churches on top of them.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, Mark, bro.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I was raised Catholic. They never told us that.
No, they won't tell you that.
Give me a sip.
They
This is
didn't
great.
tell you a lot.
It's time to get going.
They didn't tell you guys a lot of stuff.
Hold on. So break this down.
Right.
There were pyramids everywhere.
Yeah.
How do the Catholics find out about it? Are they reading the ancient texts?
Oh no, they just know we gotta eradicate this civilization science because we want to impose our will on the people. See, the Catholic Church went through something called the Inquisitions.
Yes.
It was the papal Inquisitions where they went around the planet and they killed and tortured and murdered 80 million people to convert them into Christianity. And
Got it.
So it wasn't spread like they tell you in church. The gospel means the good news. It was really bad news when these people showed up. It would
was
be
by
like
force.
America showing up to your country and you have oil buried in the ground.
Really?
Bad.
Wow. So they were like giving women fucking rights and shit. Let them read.
They,
Absurd.
they have.
What the fuck is wrong with these people, man?
If you go to the museum in Rome,
Yeah.
you'll find they still have the torture tools there in the museum. They're proud of them. They have the Pope's spear. The Pope's, spear, which went up in a woman's vagina.
I saw that one.
Pop them open from the inside.
Good.
They had a spire
Gracious.
that they would lower a man down onto the spire through his butthole over and over again, up and down until he died.
Damn, no Diddy, bro.
For real. They just had all these torture mechanisms.
Yeah.
What they would do is get the leader, the king, the chief, the guy who does all the sage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The medicine man.
Yeah.
And then they would say, look, we need to convert everyone into this. And if you don't, then we're going to kill you.
You're gonna fuck you from the inside out.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
So they would make everyone.
Who would do the fucking? Because I feel like that would be against Catholicism.
It would be one of these people from their church system and be, hey,
So there was a fucker. There was a guy who would.
There was a guy, he'd connect you and get you lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
And, and do that. Sick people. But when you
Do what you gotta do, all right?
it's wild.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta spread the gospel.
You gotta spread the
You gotta
gospel.
spread the gospel.
It is the good word.
Under the order of Rome.
Yeah.
And, but the thing Rome said was, look, we got to get this money.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to convert our pagan system into a Christian system. We're going to combine the two together. That's why we have all these fake holidays that are all pagan holidays in Christianity.
That's my man Constantine, right?
Yeah, Constantine. They just combined it all together. Now we got the taxes and we got the offerings.
Yeah.
We got both. And now we got the people unified. And now we can put our boot on everybody's neck. And so once they reeled up the leader of that village or that town and killed him like that, and everyone saw it, it was like, okay, I'm ready to learn now.
Damn.
Teach me your language. Talk to me about your God. By the second, third generation, you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you don't even know who you are.
Wow. So do you know which church in America or which churches are on old pyramids?
Oh, no, you just have to go and just go out there. See, anything on, most of the older ones that are on hills with the triptych windows. The triptych windows are the same windows that mimic the 3 windows that you see in a lot of the pyramids, like in Chichen Itza, Yucatan Peninsula, and all of that. Those older ones, if you go to Mexico City, how I learned this, I went to Mexico City. I got a homegrown archaeologist. He started showing me all the hills and all the old churches. He said those were all pyramids.
So it's wild. Like when you go to the Mexico City pyramids specifically, they show you what it looked like before and what it looked like after. You can never look at a hill again.
Right.
And not think it's a pyramid after you go see it.
Fact.
It's so if go look at it, you can see not Chichen Itza.
Yeah, that's the triptych. Yes.
Ah, wow.
At the top of all Catholic churches, the older ones, they all have that triptych design. And most of the ones that are old in the 1800s built on those hills were
go to the Mexico City pyramids and do it before excavation. Because what happens is grass just starts to grow on them.
Yes.
So they just start to look like terrain.
And hills.
They just look like
Big-ass
hills. And people have all these like explanations for it. Like my tour guide, look at that. So like if you just saw that, like that black and white picture to the right there,
Yeah.
Tell me that you would never look at that and assume pyramid.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Right.
Wow.
So now I have to look at every fucking hill and go, should we dig this thing up and see? And some of them are just hills.
Yeah, some are just hills, but some are these.
Right? Got it.
So when the Anunnaki came to Earth, were there already Homo sapiens here?
Yes, good question. There were already not Homo sapiens, but hominids.
No, there weren't.
Our cousins.
Bad question.
They were Homo erectus. They were our cousins.
Yeah, they were.
But I believe that they were more intelligent than us spiritually.
So is it fair to say that the aliens were the first ones to smash monkeys?
No, they didn't do the monkeys. We were right? Because when we were here, they didn't call us apes. They called us beings.
Yeah.
And in the Epic of Atrahasis, there was this big war getting ready to happen. And Enki and Lil and Anu were in this place in South Africa called Adam's Calendar, where they found the very first gold mines that human beings were working underneath their boot. Anyway, so the Ijiji, who were the working class Anunnaki, came from Mars to Earth to go to war against them because they felt like they were being enslaved, even though they weren't supposed to be enslaved. They were just working class people. They felt like they were doing too much labor. For 250,000 years, they were working.
Whoa.
And they came to Earth and they encircled the campus and they said, we're going to go to war. And it was like, well, why? And they were like, well, we've been asking you for relief. The workload is too heavy, and we don't have any women. So
that's a big issue.
They were complaining about no women, literally in the ancient tablets. And so Enki says,
they need a king of diamonds, bro.
Yeah, what were they saying? What were they saying?
Enki says, I have an idea. Because they had kind of discussed in a weird way fashioning people. That means like robotics.
Okay.
But they had talked about their home planet. When they tried that, it failed. So that's a clue as to what AI and robotics can do to a planet. They were like, there's an existing being here, though, that we can add our essence to. We're talking about genetic modification and get them to bear your load.
So don't make robots, make people that can do your work for you.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
So they started with that method first.
So they're just forcing human beings to do their work for them.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And that's how they bring them the offerings.
Yeah.
When you bring the offerings, your best harvest and your fresh calves, that's their meat. That's their food.
This is what you see in the biblical text.
They're eating. That's their meals. They're not going to go out and hunt. I mean, this archaeologist was talking to me in Egypt in 2014. He was just laughing. He was showing me one of the altars. He said these people were so dumb. He just said his own people. He says they would line up in ancient times for miles to bring their best offerings to the head god. Wow. And the god was just putting them all this food in the storehouses. And he showed me where the storehouses were inside these temples. They would put these things in there. Then they had these other areas underneath the temple where other priests would go underneath and speak, and it would resonate their voice. And it would be the voice of God talking. And it was all this, nothing but a sham, to get them to bring all this food and gold and offerings and everything else.
I mean, I do believe that, because if you go to Chichen Itza, you can have the limestone creates this like a vibration effect, and you can have like a conversation, like me and you can talk to one another across a football field. Yes, like this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the sound bounces.
It's crazy.
Comes right back at you.
Yeah. So if they were using that as some sort of technological advantage, like some Wizard of Oz shit.
Yeah.
Whoa. So were they literally eating, or were they eating off like the energy of the sacrifice? Or
No, they were eating the food. They were barbecuing. If you were the ruler of a planet.
Yeah. Billy, I think you might be putting on what you would do in that situation. Is that possible?
No,
That's what the Middle East best
I'm
food.
telling you, these people ate the food because I take tours to Egypt all the time. Last year I took 140 people on a private tour.
Yeah.
And when I go, I take a homegrown Egyptologist and a homegrown guide with us. And he takes us to the temples where they actually have the, where they actually have the storehouses. It was their grocery store, literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Jesus part alien?
I believe so.
And was he part alien and trying to do good?
Yes, I believe so.
So he was breaking away. He was using his power. And he's like, yo, what these aliens are doing to us is fucked up.
Right.
We need to break free from that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to liberate the people.
Yeah. So you have to understand, you're right on point. There's good and evil in
Jesus
everything.
is the man, bro.
Yeah,
he's
there's good and evil in everything.
We're all part alien at this point, right?
Absolutely. It's in our DNA.
Oh, fuck. I thought he was a little bit more.
Well, he was more.
extra.
He was a little bit more, yes.
How was he a little bit more?
Well, if you look at the Apocrypha text, you discover that not only was Jesus's mom a virgin birth, but his grandmother was also a virgin birth. Nobody ever talks about that in church, and they hear about that in Sunday school.
Wait a minute. So his grandma. Wow.
Yeah. So you see this establishment of this particular bloodline.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes through the womb and then begins to regain all of his own memories, right? So he is a reincarnation of himself from a previous lifetime.
Oof.
That's why sometimes I hypothesize that he could be Thoth the Atlantean, who says that he could incarnate on and in any plane he desires. Could he have decided now to come back through the womb?
So Thoth the Atlantean was the king of the Atlantean Empire.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Or one of the leaders of the Atlantean
Yes.
Empire. He is reincarnating inside Jesus.
Yeah.
And why has he chosen to help the people instead of enslave us like he did in the
Good
past?
question. When you look at the ancient text where Jesus gets all of his information from,
Yeah.
the Emerald Tablets of Thoth,
We need to talk about that on the
Right.
tablets, bro.
38,000-year-old text. In there, in the book that I wrote about it, I line up the Christian text and I line up Jesus's text from the New Testament.
This is going to seem really ignorant. People were writing shit down 36,000 years ago?
Thoth authored these tablets himself. He actually wrote, he didn't have a scribe. A lot of the times these God figures or these leaders would have scribes.
Right.
He actually wrote it down himself. He actually put it onto these tablets.
And what is he writing in? What language?
Well, it looked like the language was runes, R-U-N-E-S, okay? And in this text, he writes about coming to this planet after the Great Flood and seeing the temples of ancient Kemet sticking up out of the mud and actually going on a mission to help rebuild civilization. Not that it was for the first time, but he's rebuilding it to a high level.
So it was already built, destroyed. He's like, hey, let's run it back again.
Right. His father sends him on a mission. His father says, go to the land of Chem and do the plan that ye know of. So he gets his crew and he gets into the great ship of the master and he takes off until the planet disappears.
Which is the horizon.
Right. He's up in the sky.
Oh, he's coming from...
He's in a ship that goes up.
Gotcha.
Because you know this, because when he gets over the land of Chem, he goes, I see the land of Chem beneath us. And I see the temples rising up out of the mud that were flooded by the fountains.
Now we come back.
Now he comes down to the ground.
The fountains is the Great Flood.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
He opens the door. He comes out and he calls these people barbarians coming to attack him. Probably territorial.
Crazy.
And he says, I raised my staff and sent out a ray of vibration, stopping them still as fragments of stone of the mountain. So now he's got a stun gun that can freeze them in their tracks.
That's fire.
That's technology. It's a system that works just like what he described in ancient tablets, where it sends out a beam, a ray. Type in active denial system, put it up there. It sends out a beam at a crowd of people coming to attack, right? To riot or whatever. And it stops them in their tracks. It makes them feel like they're in pain, makes them feel like they want to vomit, put voices in their head.
Wow.
Whatever you want to do, you can program the frequency into their body to make it do that.
Is this what the people said they were experiencing in the...
Cuba?
Yeah, the basin.
Havana syndrome? Is
Yeah.
that?
Okay. Keep going. All right.
So, So then here's the key about the God thing. Him, not wanting to be one of these gods. When he released them from that, he started talking to the people peacefully, and they started groveling at his feet. And he said, no, get up. He said, I'm a son of Atlantis. He didn't say I'm God. And he said, I'm a son of Atlantis, and I'm here to bring you back up to a high level of civilization. And he worked with the people for a couple thousand years to rebuild that civilization. Before he left and he told all of his people that came there with him, spread out around the planet. This is how Atlantis advanced again. Spread out around the planet and duplicate what we did here.
And this is where you see similar stories
Correct.
across ancient texts around the world.
Correct.
And those similar stories are higher intelligence comes to us, bestows upon us this wisdom after the floods.
The Lakota tribe, the Hopi tribe, the Dogon tribe of Africa, I mean, the Aboriginals. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on. Matter of fact, the verbal handed down history of the Aboriginals, because I've been there before and hung out, went for a walkabout in the outback with the Aboriginals and went on a trail to go find Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs, which we did stumble across and get them documented, that they were seated on this planet by Pleiadians.
Pleiadians
From the Pleiades.
Got you.
The same people that the Sumerians talk about, they call it Mo in the ancient texts. The ancient Egyptians revere it as well, the Pleiades. It's in every text, Homer's Iliad, the Bible, the Mahabharata, any text you go to, and most artifacts are going to have a depiction of the Pleiades or talk about the Pleiades.
And what's the depiction?
The stars, the 7 stars.
Oh, it's that star system.
Yeah. Subaru even has it on their logo for their car.
So it's a gay lesbian. It's a lesbian. It's a lesbian galaxy. Is that what's going on? Okay. Shout out Subarus. We love y'all.
It's a constellation. It's a star system.
You had talked about Jesus, where he went from like 12 to like 32.
Yeah.
Can you explain Jesus' trajectory from 12 to 32 that we don't have in the Bible?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So Jesus disappears from the Bible at the age of 12, right? He disappears, and where does he go? There's another text called the Gospel of the Holy 12. And in the Gospel of the Holy 12, which was omitted from the Bible, he goes to Egypt with his mother. Now, I've been there, and when I take my tour, when I take people on tour, I take them to the place where he slept. It's still there. It's a crypt now. It's like a place to go there. You know where it's at, right?
It's inside a church, right?
Coptic Cairo, correct. Right inside that church. They converted it into a church. And he went there to study the Egyptian mysteries. He went there also to learn all about the ancient mystery schools, and then he left there and he went to Tibet to learn the mystic art. Tibet, he went to go learn, not mystic arts, but went to go learn spirituality.
He went to Tibet?
And mystic arts, yes, mystic arts. And then he went down into India, learned about reincarnation and all of that. And then he came back down and he reappears in the biblical text when God says in the Bible, I called my son out of Egypt.